and welcome back to Austin Talks, where today, as you can see by the thumbnail, we have a returned guest on the channel.
It's his dad.
Yes, my dad has joined the channel once again to talk about music. So obviously in January we did a video called the history of music, but we actually had he had an idea of doing a part two. So here it is, and so let's just get right into it. Right, why are we doing part two? Well, as a matter of fact, we are also actually doing part three, and here's why. My dad is a big fan of music and like the musicians' stories, and there's a whole section we haven't covered, and like there's four that we thought of, so we've split those four into two, so we have part two and three, and then three will come later on. And also I love collaborating with my dad and other family members, so if anything this was actually like his idea and our idea, so that's just why, just to clear up that. So first off, we didn't cover him.
Phil Collins. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So now personally, I don't know much about him, other than he was a member of Genesis, and that the only song that I actually really know of his as a solo act is "I Can Feel It in the Air Tonight." One of my favorite songs ever. I mean that's me. So that.
Right. Phil Collins. What can you say? As you know, he started in Genesis, but he actually replaced another solo artist called Peter Gabriel. Okay, so Peter Gabriel decided to leave the Genesis band, but they originally were looking for a drummer, and he was the drummer before Peter Gabriel left for a short time. But then when Gabriel left, they needed a front man. It's very unusual for a front man to come from behind a set of drums. There's been a few, not many. I can think of another one is Dave Grohl, who was the sort of obviously the drum with Nirvana and started his own band to the Foo Fighters and that. So there's very few drummers that have come from behind the set drum kits to front a band. But one of the most successful, I think, is Phil Collins. So he's had a great band career with Genesis, and he's had a phenomenal solo career. Really, just by luck, his first album he released solo was Face Value, which had the iconic "In the Air Tonight," where he does actually do the drum riff in it. It's probably one of the most iconic out there, used for many adverts. One of them being the ape on the Cadbury's advert, if people remember that. And obviously, "In the Air Tonight" has been in other films or in films, but he's had a very, very long solo career with several albums, including a soundtrack for Tarzan as well, Disney's Tarzan. So he wrote the soundtrack for that. So yeah, he's had a very good solo career and a band career, but sadly he can't play the drums now due to ill health and back problems and stuff like that. Their last tour, which was the last Domino, he was seated most of the time. He was seated all the time, really, to sing the songs. But I was lucky enough to see him in concert back in early 90s when the We Can't Dance tour was on.
Yeah.
Very good. Nedworth, 100,000 people. Few people there.
Well, see, I just started it. Like, if we got into Phil Collins at 2 minutes, I was looking at the 2 minute mark. You just spoke for 2 minutes and 20 seconds straight without me like talking just about Phil Collins, and that's why I actually brought him on the channel, because I know like he's really good with like music. So
he's actually been in a few films as well.
Has he?
One of them being Buster.
Never watched it.
Which is about one of the guys out of the Great Train Robbery, where he wrote some of the soundtrack, and also he was in Hook, where he played a policeman.
Oh, I never knew that.
Yeah, that's where he actually started off. He started off as an actor.
Really?
As a child actor, yeah.
Ah, see,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm learning stuff as well, so yeah. The Police.
Oof.
Now, I know a few songs, but to be honest, the only way I know the Police is from the person I'll get onto next, and I also know them from like the history of the band, like because my dad like goes through the TV and he like watches a lot of history of bands and stuff, and the Police was one of them. But this is also why I have my dad here, so I can learn and you guys can learn. So take it away, Dad.
Yeah, I'll ask you a question. So, what's Sting's real name?
I hate you. Where's my phone?
No, look it up on the phone. No,
No,
look it up on the phone.
I don't have my phone. I don't know
Do you know what
actually.
his real name is?
What's his name?
Gordon Sumner.
Gordon Sumner.
Yes.
That's a cool name.
Yeah, Gordon
Actually,
Sumner.
that actually sounds familiar. Gordon does sound familiar. But I've always known him as like Sting. And yeah, that's the person.
And how did he get the name of Sting?
I don't know. I just listen to his
okay.
music.
When he was starting off in bands, one of the early bands he was in, I can't remember what the name of it was now, but he turned up in a yellow and black horizontal striped jumper.
And it was like a bee, and then I do remember him telling me.
The nickname just he looked like a bee, so Sting, and this nickname just carried on from there. And also, there's a story about him where he got stopped at an airport, an international airport, because when they looked at his passport, it didn't say Sting on it. Couldn't tell you where it was, but that is a true story. That he turned up an airport, going through customs, and they tried stopping him from going through, because when they looked at his passport, the person that's obviously customs or border control knew him as Sting, and he didn't have Sting on the passport. So there you go. But interesting enough, the Police came out of the punk era. They started off as a bit of a punk band, and then they were very much renowned as a mod band later on.
Like modern?
Mod movement. So yeah, they were part of the modern day, or the later mod movement. The earlier mod movement was in the 60s, but then it's always been there. But then they came to the forefront of a more modern mod era with their music and that. The three guys, funnily enough, the three guys there in the picture, obviously Sting is at the front. The one with his face a little bit obscured is Andy Summers, who is the lead guitar player. But the most interesting one is the other one, Stuart Copeland. He's an American.
That sounds quite familiar.
Yeah, Stuart Copeland, who was the drummer, is an American who met up with them, and he was if you look up about his father, he was a member of the CIA, founding member of the CIA. Yep.
Well, how about that?
Yeah. So if you look at it, as I say, look up Stuart Copeland and his family roots and all that lot. He's actually American, and his father was one of the founding agents with the CIA. So, and his name is mentioned in a few films that I've seen about involving the CIA, like the history of the CIA. But the band themselves, they started off and they were very much hit they got popular very quickly, famous very quickly, and I think it got to. The pressures got to Sting, and at the height, they were actually at the height of their fame when Sting decided that was it. He didn't want to do it. He wanted to go solo.
He still performs Police songs.
Yeah, because he wrote most of them. He wrote most of the songs. A collaboration with this group, but he wrote most of the songs. So yeah, he still does. Message in the Bottle is probably one of the earliest ones I remember. Is Message in the Bottle.
There was one time we were just we were Skyping my brother, and he's saying there was actually Sting on the TV, because we were watching a documentary and this Sting one came up. And it was that song, and it just looked really. The video that was shown just looked really weird. It was just really dead. Sting's face looked similar to the one in the picture. It just looked dead. He had no emotion.
Yeah. Another one, Walking on the Moon.
Walking on the Moon, and then
Roxanne.
that was Police.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought that was.
Roxanne.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know why we're going to the next one because you basically just talked about him, but yeah, Sting. Now, for me, just wow. If I had to pick top 3 artists, One Republic, Sting, and Post Malone, easy. In my opinion, as I said, I know a few of the Police songs, but like as Sting as a solo, I know a good few of his songs, and like all of them are actually really good. You Dad? Oh, and actually, as you're talking about that stripe thing, you can actually see it in the photo.
Yeah, but that's the yellow and black one. But he's just a great performer, or a solo performer, a great writer of different musics.
I've got a question for you.
Go on then.
Do you think it was better that he left, or should he stayed? Should he have stayed?
I think he's become better since he left the Police. I think he was quite restricted in the Police and the style of music they played, whereas since he left, he's developed his the types of music he plays. He's into like Indian music. Listen to Desert Rose, very much Arabic.
Yeah, and it was actually
influenced.
filmed in. Some of it was actually filmed in Dubai.
Or on the road between Dubai and Elaine.
Oh really?
Yeah, it was filmed on the road between Dubai and Elaine. But he's, as a solo artist, he still plays a lot of the Sting. The Police music anyway, because he wrote a lot of it.
Yeah, there's quite a few popular ones, and I actually think that's the reason I know a few of them.
But he's had a few collaborations, both musically and production-wise. But now he lives in New York now. So originally an English teacher, and now he's
Englishman in New York.
Yeah, Englishman. He's now lives in New York.
Yeah. I mean, I really like the Police and Sting, so yeah, I like talking about that one. Freddie Mercury.
A god.
Yeah. Now, one of if not the best singers ever. He formed one of the best bands, and when he went solo, it was just hard. Like, I mean, especially when he was solo, yeah, he was good, but it was also just it was a sense of unnatural, because you needed the whole people. You?
One of the greatest performers you'll ever see on stage, bar none. You won't hear or see another performer like Freddie Mercury. He had such a range. He could sing opera, rock and roll. He had more range than any other artist on this earth, really. The band was just phenomenal. And sadly, he was taken through his lifestyle and AIDS and that. But as an artist, it's one of the biggest regrets. I never get to see him live. And if I could ever go back in time, it was one of the bands that I would just go and see, just to see him. You watch him in live at Live Aid. He came back. He was just coming back from his solo thing, and they had a big bad breakup. Queen did, and they came back together. And they probably took off more since then than prior to that, and they had some amazing albums. But they stole the show at Live Aid. He stole the show at Live Aid, and he'll never be forgotten for it.
Oh, never.
And the music will live on. Bohemian Rhapsody is probably one of the most renowned sons ever.
Yeah,
it's been number one more times than any other song.
Yeah.
Back and forth.
Yeah. Freddie Mercury. When we're in my dad's car and we're driving to school, all I can practically hear is so they'll say, because my dad likes playing classic music, and sometimes it is Queen, and just you can't not sing along with it. It's just brilliant.
It's just so many songs over the years.
Yeah. Right. So the key point of this video is music and movies, or music portrayed through movies. So those were the ones that I've just Ones I missed out on the last one, but like obviously we're 15 minutes in and we're only on the second part of the video, so fun. I think there's only 4 or 5, I don't remember. But yeah, so I just want to hear your thoughts. And as funnily enough, Freddie Mercury, the first one is Bohemian Rhapsody. Now, the motto of the movie, it does say "Fearless lives forever," and it does practically just sum it up, really. One of the best movies of all time, and I do really, this is one of the best biopic movies, and because like, it's such an in comparison to others, it's just, I personally have watched it, I don't know how many times, but I want to hear like your thoughts.
Firstly, the characters they picked for it were absolutely perfect for the portrayal of the artists. It really was. From Brian May, John Deacon, Roger Taylor, the actors they picked for it was brilliant. How close to his life it was, I'd say it's pretty darn close, because there was a lot of collaboration with the band members. So I do think it was very close, and I think you only get a very small glimpse of him as a person, because if anyone's read any the books about him, he was a very shy. Books? Yeah, there's biographies of him. He was a very shy person, and obviously at the time, he wasn't openly gay, because of the era, but all the signs were there. Everyone, the band members knew. His closest friends knew, but at the time, he didn't broadcast it. But as a biopic, I think it's probably one of the best you'll see, and yeah, it portrays his life very well as a person.
Yeah.
And very sad.
It's a very sad movie, and I remember when we were in Liverpool, I think it was one night we watched it with Marcus, didn't we? Yeah, we watched it with Marcus, and it was it doesn't matter how many times you watch it, it's still really good, and it's still really good.
Advise anyone to watch it.
Yes, very. Now, Elvis, released in 2022, and what's 2022, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. To see how this Elvis's life was just awful. This was one of my favorite. It is one of my favorite movies. Austin Butler played a great Elvis. I like this movie because of how raw it is, because it's like it portrays him as what actually happened, not like with sunshine and rainbows, like as it shows the truth, and like how people actually saw it. Now, whilst I actually saw it at home, and it's a really long movie, but my parents saw it at cinema. So what was that like, Father?
Brilliant film. I say the music of Elvis will never die. I was not a great Elvis fan, I must admit, in my growing up. It wasn't something that was played much, Elvis, but I knew a lot of his songs. But the thing is, watching the movie, I didn't know where his background came from, and say I knew a lot of it was blues, but I didn't realise it was gospel music. And when you listen to it back again, you probably do realise that his earlier stuff is based on the gospel music. It's a great movie. Very sad. He could have gone on. If he wasn't held back by his management, and that, he probably could have gone a lot further. And to put it in context, how famous Elvis is, he never did a world tour.
Did he not?
Never did a world tour.
It was always in America? Always
in America. He only did one very small gig in Germany, and that was because of his connections with the army and that. He never toured internationally. He never played in Europe. He only played in the States.
And also, Tom Hanks got a lot of hate for this movie.
He got a lot of criticism for it, because he's not the type of character he usually plays, and he's Colonel Parker that he plays. He was not a very nice character, not a very nice person. He was very greedy. The contract stitched Elvis up, very limiting. But sadly, at the time, there was many unscrupulous people around. A lot of bands even later on, like the Who, Rolling Stones, even the Beatles, and that they had problems with management, and even some of the new modern day stories, like with George Michael with Sony. I think Robbie Williams had problems with his record companies, and that they're just unscrupulous. Led Zeppelin even had problems with them.
Didn't know that.
Yeah.
Alright. Well, as I say, great movie, and and also I never knew his favourite DC character was Shazam, not Captain Marvel. It's Shazam. Get it right, people. Right. Rocket Man. Now this movie it gives me chills. I've watched this movie quite a few times. Elton John is an exquisite songwriter, and that is actually why I really like his music. There's not a song that I don't like. And this movie portrayed him in such a way that, yes, it was cruel, but it actually showed this how he pulled through and and how motivational it is, because Freddie Mercury and what's his name, Elvis, they're dead now, but Elton John is still alive. So yeah, do you agree?
And he's actually doing his farewell tour at the moment. So he's doing.
Please come here.
No,
please.
He won't do. He won't come here. But he's doing a farewell tour at the moment. I've seen him in concert. And he is amazing. I've seen him Royal Albert Hall. Absolutely amazing. Rocket Man as a film, I thought it was a brilliant film. Very different to Bohemian Rhapsody.
I feel a butt coming on.
But because it was a bit flamboyant, but Elton John is flamboyant. Okay, he's not a normal. He's how people and no one else in the world can walk out on stage in a pink Versace suit, bright fluorescent pink Versace suit, and that's what he turned up in when I watched him, and no one can get away with it. And he was such a showman, not only with his music but his outfits, the show he put on stage. But the movies, what was it, like dreamscapes in certain parts. Though it has a story, it also has a backstory. If you watch it carefully, of his imagination, what he used to go in on himself, and this is what he imagined things happening. But it's a great film. To go watch it, because it is, the music in it's amazing music.
Yeah, and Taron Egerton plays a great Rocket Man, and there's no doubt of that. I think this is the last one. Now, this is a bit different than like a biopic movie, but
You didn't warn me about this one. Oh no, you didn't warn me about this one.
No, I did not warn you about this one, and there was a reason for it. Now, okay, yes, this is not a movie of a biopic of anything. Well, I actually kind of it is
a biopic. Yeah.
It is a biopic, but I just want to talk about back the impact that it actually has. Now, to be fair, it is a biopic of a guy in, I think it was the 16th century. I don't remember.
No, 1800s.
The music of the movie actually changed many people's perception of music. Really, with what's it called?
Musicals.
That too. But no, what was the one that Rebecca Ferguson sang?
Yeah, I know the one. Yeah, I can't remember it. But
yeah, but all the music was just so changing and all that, and I'm really curious to hear my dad's thoughts. That's why I actually didn't warn him about this one.
Well, I must admit I wasn't over struck on seeing it. Watching the film, but when I did watch it, it was a brilliant film. The music in it is up there with any West End show, but it's a kind of show. I think it had to be a movie and not a West End show. I think it'd be so understated as a West End show, or Broadway show. Whereas on film, it did bring it out, and it's a very good film. It's about Barnum, he developed basically the inventor of a circus, and it just gives you a very good insight into what he did in music. Yeah, and I say as a musical film, I think it's very good. Do I think it's up there with some of the biopics? Possibly. Actually, I think it is up there.
I didn't think that would be his response.
I think it certainly is up there with things like Rocket Man. I don't know about Bohemian Rhapsody, but it's certainly up there with Rocket Man as a fantasy movie. But yeah, it's very good, and the characters are good in it, and the actors and actresses are very good in it. So yeah, rating this film, yeah, I'd put it up there with a lot of the biopics. And yeah, it's an enjoyable movie to watch.
Yeah, I agree. Right, that'll be the end of today's video. I did think it would be a bit longer, but obviously my dad likes music, so I thought we would do this. And there will be a third one coming out not very soon, but I'll try and maybe next month possibly. Yeah. Other than that, everyone, I hope you all enjoyed. And anything you gotta say?
No, thank you for listening.
Thank you for me having you on. All right. Yeah. So, everyone, I hope you all have a great day, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.